I mean,
Yeah.
I may be alone in sort of that sort of thinking, and that's sort of what's happening at the moment. But just from what I've
Yep.
seen, and sort of my kids now being pushed into school, and sort of just my anecdotal, I said, experiences, it just seems to be that there's a
Hmm.
big shift in the way that in our society here in New Zealand, where we think everything should be provided for them at school, and that's everything, and
Yeah, absolutely.
and it's
I
unfortunate.
mean, yeah, it's definitely something that's happening worldwide, it
Mm,
seems like.
mm,
Um, Teachers are expected to do a lot,
mm,
and there's a number of posters and things that I've seen in the many years that I've been teaching
mm,
that kind of show massive list of people what people expect of teachers to be counselors and you know
mm.
all range of things like
Yeah,
a nurse and everything
yeah.
when the child is at school. And I think whilst it's a joy for all all teachers that I know anyways
Mm,
to do all those things, it's taxing.
of
And
course.
at the end of the day, like you're saying, it's not really it can never really be a solution,
Mm,
or the we can't be
mm,
everything for all our kids.
mm.
We can always try, and we 100% do,
Of course.
but it's a tough role to fill.
Mm. It's not
Yeah, for sure.
it's not, I mean, at the very least, it's not sustainable, you know?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
teachers have one of the hardest jobs. Like, I love my kids. I find other kids very stressful, you know? So
Yeah.
I always take my hat off to teachers, and sort of having to go day by day and have what I think already have immense responsibility to sort of teach kids, and get them prepared for an academic life,
Yeah,
moving
just for
forward.
academia. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel very annoyed, I guess is the right word, when I sort of hear conversations like, well, why aren't the school providing this? Why isn't the school providing this? Now, there is an argument to be made that, we look at lower decile schools, and obviously if poverty is a big portion of that, and those schools
Hmm.
are very good at sort of meeting the expectations of the community. We have a lot of programs for breakfasts and lunches and things like that,
Oh,
like the bare
100%.
necessity stuff. Like, I'm not against that. I'm definitely not
Mm.
against that. So if anyone's going to hit me up with some hate mail, that's definitely not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that when we have this expectation that the teachers are supposed to teach your child how to be a proper human being, I don't think that's correct. I don't think that's going to be the way forward. Like you mentioned,
Absolutely.
it definitely should be supplementary to what they should be learning at home. Now, on
Mm.
the flip side, you have kids who are absolutely unsupported in their home, whether the parents are this or that, and make your own generalizations of what a bad parent is. Let's not
Mm.
pretend there's no bad parents out there. There's a fuck
Oh,
ton of bad parents out there, right?
dude, this is a dangerous space to be talking about. I feel
Yeah,
parenting. Like I've just found I'm a stay-at-home dad, and
yeah.
for most of the weekend, I feel like anytime you talk about parenting, you gotta like tread lightly, man, because there are people out there that will crush you because of any view you have or any opinion you have on how you raise your child and how other people should raise theirs.
That's fine.
And so it's really hard. It's really hard to like
Mm,
broach the subject
mm,
without offending people, I feel.
yeah, and that's a shame,
like like
because
like lots of topics
of
which I've
course,
heard you talk
yeah,
about on all your podcasts.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
No, no, I get it. I get it. And listen, at the end of the day,
yeah,
there's always
for
going to be
sure.
people out there that's going to be offended at whatever you say, even if it's the thing that makes so much sense. There's nothing we've said today that is not true, or not, or doesn't make sense to people. I think the people who get offended when we talk about, and I'm not talking about specific people. I'm just generalizing here, right?
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
generalizing here, and there is something to say that, you know, as parents, we have such a massive responsibility to our own children, and when we start shipping those responsibilities off to teachers, for whatever
Yeah.
those reasons, listen, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously you can hit me up with your individual experiences, and I'm not that concrete in my thinking where I'm going to be sitting and holding this view till
Of
I
course.
die. But I do
Yeah,
think when
absolutely.
when people sort of are hesitant to talk about these topics, and listen, we just only have to look at the Pacifica group of people and sort of the struggles that we have to face day to day to try
Mm.
to get our children
Mm.
off to school. I'm
Yep.
100% empathetic about it, but we need to be having these conversations because a long time, it's at the
100%.
end of the day, we are the only ones that can change any of this, right? We can't rely on
Hmm.
sort of, governmental assistance, which helps, of course. I'm not saying it doesn't help, but we can't sort of continue to sort of do that and expect the system to change to change things. We have to work in a way where we have to force the system to change, and it's going to happen little by little. It's not going to
Yeah,
happen in the
man.
next year, 2 years, 3 years. We're talking decades.
Yep.
To change
Totally.
our perspectives and certain aspects of our culture. Where some people, not everyone, some people don't
Yep.
actually value education that high. People want their children to get a job as soon as possible and sort of help support the family, and that's you know, and all I'm saying is we should be having a conversation about these things.
For
You know,
sure. For
but
sure.
I get what you mean. Obviously there's going to be a lot of people out there. It's like, well, you don't know my experience. You don't know
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
hard it's been for me. And listen, I have all the
Oh,
empathy in the world for you.
absolutely. Absolutely.
But don't get it twisted, man. I'm going to talk whatever the fuck I want to talk about. When these
Yeah. Yeah.
people
Yeah.
talk to me about these things, it's like, well, that's fine. That's your individual experience, and that's good. You should be voicing those experiences, but don't think
Hmm.
your experience sort of easily gets sort of, there's that broad brush sort of
Yep.
technique where your experience sort of speaks for everyone, and I don't think that's the
Negates everyone
case.
else's. Yep.
Yeah, no,
For
no.
sure.
But I hear
Like
what you're saying though.
no, no, for sure. I guess to complete my
Hmm.
thought is that I really 100% agree with you that the only way to address all these issues with parenting and with schooling and all that kind of stuff is actually a conversation.
Hmm.
And so that's like I value what you're doing for sure.
Thanks, man.
Um, and like I think it needs to be done. Like
Hmm.
especially within our Pacifica communities, we need to be the ones to have conversations about it
Hmm.
and involve as
Absolutely.
many people as possible. I
Absolutely.
think in terms of like parenting overall and the Pacifica community, one of my like lofty dreams in the like far future would be to be like to have a nurse and have a teacher, like someone who's qualified in education, to uh, not only do Plunkett visits but do like legit educational like these are common sense good things to do with your children from their when they're 0 to 5
Hmm.
because what I what I've realized as a teacher is that those years before they come to school are like friggin' the most
Oh,
important.
absolutely.
As as I'm
Yep.
raising my little 2-year-old,
Hmm.
I'm like, damn, everything I do with this kid is forming him. I'm
Yeah.
like semi molding him into the human being he'll be when he's my age. Like
They're little
all these
sponges,
things are
man.
super important.
They're little sponges,
Yeah,
man. They
man. And
just they
so
just soak up all this information.
yeah, if anyone's watching and wants to steal that idea and pitch it to government,
Yeah.
do that, man, because I feel like that could make a significant difference,
Absolutely.
especially for people who don't
Mm.
have the resources to, or the, you know, time or whatever it is, like
Mm.
education to
Yeah.
do that for themselves.
I mean, one way they can do it is just make early childhood education free. Just make it free. I mean, they're giving away. They're wanting to make a lot of stuff free.
Mm-hmm.
Make this one free. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. In terms of like children's earliest, I mean, there are plenty of researchers out there to show that if your child is in an ACE form of early childhood education, they just move
Mm-hmm.
on to just be, much more. They achieve better outcomes in the education space moving forward.
Yep.
So I'm
That's
very big on that. And
yeah.
early, it is something that we need to be mindful of because a lot of the times, and I'm guilty of this too, it's like sometimes I'm with my kid and I need to do stuff, I'll just plunk them in front of the TV while I try and get things done. And that's the
Yeah, for
reality
sure.
for a lot of people, but,
Yeah, man.
but I think if, and New Zealand is pretty good where we do provide a certain amount of funding for early childhood education, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
People should be engaging with that as best as possible. I know a lot of people do. It's evident from the
Yep.
schools that my kids go to that a lot of people feel the same way and are pushing kids to sort of go
Mm-hmm.
to these sort of they're daycare centers, but then daycare it's not like they just hang around, they just do nothing. There's actual proper structure and learning going on,
Yeah, for sure.
whether it's
For
with
sure.
blocks, whether it's with letters and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
And
all developing.
so you're right. it's initiatives like that, and yeah, even and your initiative would be taking that to that next level, right? Where we can't just go
Yeah,
straight to the home, straight to the
straight to the
source.
home, man.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I think one thing when you talk about parents kind of just lobbing their kids to teachers
Mm,
is like if we really want to make lasting difference, like you were saying about everything coming from the home,
mm,
then actually we need to make some strides to changing what's happening in the home. Because every time you take your, let's say, childcare is free, you drop your child at childcare, they have a great day,
mm,
and then they come home and maybe it's not as great, or there are
yeah.
certain things that are missing.
Mm,
And so I guess my dream one day would be to take some of those things from daycare and be like, yo, this is what we do at daycare.
mm.
This is, yeah, some things you could do at home.
Some outreach
Because I
stuff,
think
huh?
that's,
Mm,
yeah, I think that's definitely one thing that I really felt as a teacher in New Zealand in my school, was that I could write these reports and have meetings with parents,
mm,
and they would be fruitful, but um, I always felt like it wasn't creating lasting change
mm,
in the home. And so I'd like write these super detailed reports of, what the child could do next, and activities even that they could do, but kind of in the back of my mind thinking, oh, this is probably not going to happen.
mm,
And the hard part about that is actually it's probably because mom and dad are working full
mm,
time
mm.
night shifts,
Yeah.
kind of sailing between each other, and
Mm,
like this, yeah, so many different factors. But
yeah.
I guess
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
it's
always
not,
about just trying to
of
help
course,
at least.
and it's not like every parents is using drugs and alcohol and stuff as a thing. Some
Oh,
people are just
exactly,
working,
bro.
double shift, triple
Majority,
shifts.
man.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I like to
so
think it's majority people who are just working their asses off,
yeah,
and um, you know,
yeah,
um,
absolutely.
literally unable to do these things. And then there are that small segment that are having other
Hmm.
problems.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
hopeful. I'm hopeful that as sort of systems evolve, technology evolves, that we do find more viable ways of providing education, and especially early childhood education, and making it more accessible to parents at home. Because if
yep.
because I think as well as it is to say, oh, early childhood education is free, how are they going to take their kids there? How are they going to pick them up? Lunches and
Just
all
that's
these
right.
things. There's always certain barriers, unfortunately, that sort of stop people
Yeah,
from achieving these things. And it has to be a holistic sort of approach to everything, right? Like
yeah, for
everything should
sure.
be. And I don't have that answer. We kind of know what would be good. It's more just how do you implement that, and how do you sort of actually provide that to the community that needs it the most. So,
Mm.
but I'm hopeful. There's a lot of amazing people out there doing amazing work.
Oh, absolutely,
100%
man.
for the community. Putting in all these
Absolutely.
amazing initiatives. That and I see them growing. I see there's more and more people wanting to do more for the community
Yeah,
outside
man.
of their usual day-to-day job. So
Yeah,
like I
for
said,
sure.
I'm hopeful.
Especially during COVID, like
Yeah, yeah,
you've seen kind of organizations really step up
mm,
and provide for the community.
yeah,
Shout outs to Dow at Vinny's
yeah, man.
and anyone else who's doing that in Auckland. Like